Some stories begin with laughter, songs, and bright colours. This one began that way too, until the colours slowly faded. This is the story of a beautiful young woman who married a man she believed would protect her, love her, and build a home with her. The world saw a charming husband, a responsible man, a proud father-to-be. But the moment the door of marriage closed, everything changed. What was supposed to be a safe haven became a cage. What should have been a partnership turned into silent suffering. It is the story of a man who used love as a weapon, who believed control was leadership, and who broke the spirit of the woman who once smiled like the sunrise. He didn't know that every harsh word was shaping the hearts of his children. He didn't know his pride was building a fire that would one day burn everything he held dear. In this story, you will meet tears, courage, pain, strength, regret, and redemption. You will walk through the shadows of manipulation, the dangers of control, and the deep wounds that pride can leave behind. Now, let's step into a world where love is tested, where courage grows slowly, and where freedom at last finds its voice. People often say that a woman can see the true nature of a man in his eyes. But Aisha did not see it. Not on her wedding day, not in the bright photographs, and certainly not in the way Kunle held her hand as if he would guard her forever. If only she had looked deeper. If only someone had warned her that a smile can hide a storm. But on that day, everything looked perfect. It was the kind of wedding people talked about for weeks. The hall was decorated with shining gold fabrics. Drummers played loudly. Guests danced until their feet hurt. Everyone kept saying the same thing. Aisha is lucky. She is marrying the best man. Aisha walked in slowly, dressed in a beautiful white gown that made her look like an angel. Her skin glowed, her eyes shined, and her smile lit up the whole room. Even women older than her whispered in jealousy. "She is so beautiful," one said. "No wonder Kunle hurried to marry her," another replied. Kunle stood waiting at the altar, looking proud, sharp, and confident. He stretched out his hand and whispered so sweetly that Aisha's heart melted. "I will love you forever." Aisha smiled shyly and believed every word. Everyone believed him. Kunle was handsome, well-spoken, and polished, the man mothers prayed for and young girls admired. His friends called him a perfect gentleman. His neighbours said he was well-mannered. Parents in the community pointed to him as an example of how a young man should behave. Aisha felt safe with him. She felt chosen. She felt blessed. If someone had told her that this day, this perfect day, was the beginning of the darkest chapter of her life, she would have laughed, because on her wedding day, Kunle kissed her forehead gently and held her hand with care. On her wedding day, she still believed in happy endings, but unknown to her, Kunle's gentle smile was only a mask. The first night after the wedding should have been filled with joy, laughter, and warm conversations. But for Aisha, it was the beginning of confusion. As soon as they got home from the celebration, Kunle dropped his keys on the table and sighed loudly. Aisha smiled softly. "Kunle, let me help you remove your jacket." He pulled his arm away sharply. "Please, leave me. I am tired." Aisha blinked. "Oh, okay." His voice was suddenly cold. His eyes no longer sparkled with the kindness she knew during courtship. Something felt different, very different. She tried again later. "Kunle, should I warm some food? You didn't eat much at the wedding." He answered without looking at her. "Why are you disturbing me? Must you talk every minute?" The words cut her like a blade. Aisha went quiet. Her heart beat fast. Was he just stressed? Was he simply tired? Maybe tomorrow would be better, she told herself. But tomorrow was worse. The morning after. Aisha woke early to cook breakfast. She wanted to impress him. She wanted peace. Kunle walked into the dining room with a frown. "What nonsense is this?" he said, pointing at the food. Aisha swallowed hard. "It's the same yam porridge you love. I made it the way." "Will you keep quiet?" he barked. "This is not the taste I want. Are you trying to poison me?" Her hands shook. Tears filled her eyes. "But Kunle, I checked the salt. I did every—" "Enough!" he shouted. "Stop talking. You talk too much." Aisha quietly picked up the plate and went back to the kitchen, crying softly. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. And the gentle, smiling Kunle she married was gone. He complained about everything. "You walk too slowly. You laugh too loudly. You breathe too noisily. You don't know anything." One afternoon, Aisha asked gently, "Kunle, are you angry with me? Did I do something wrong?" Kunle dropped his newspaper and stared at her with cold eyes. "I don't need to explain anything to you," he said. "Just know your place." "My place?" Aisha whispered. "Yes," he replied. "You're my wife now. You obey. You listen. You don't question me." Aisha froze. Gone was the soft-spoken man who wrote her love letters. Gone was the patient man who carried her handbag during courtship. Gone was the man who promised to protect her. In his place stood someone else. Someone hard, someone loud, someone who wanted power, not partnership. Every night, Aisha cried quietly when Kunle slept. She would turn her face to the wall and whisper, "God, what changed? What did I do wrong? Why does he hate me now?" But the walls did not answer. Her tears dried on her pillow. Her heart broke piece by piece. And deep inside her, a small voice whispered the truth she didn't want to hear. This is who he truly is. The wedding only removed the mask. Aisha had always loved working with her hands. Before marriage, she owned a small sewing shop where women came from far places to sew their clothes. She was popular, happy, and had her own money. She dreamed of expanding the shop after marriage. She dreamed of helping her new home. She dreamed of standing on her own feet. But Kunle had other plans, plans she never imagined. A married woman should not work. One bright afternoon, Aisha said happily, "Kunle, I want to open my sewing shop again. My customers have been calling me." Kunle did not smile. He dropped his spoon, wiped his mouth slowly, and said, "Aisha, listen carefully. A married woman does not need a job. Your work is here with me." Aisha blinked in confusion. "But Kunle, I like sewing, and it will help us financially." Kunle's face hardened. "Did you hear me well?" he asked, voice rising. "I said you will not work. Are you challenging me already?" Aisha's heart sank. She shook her head quickly. "No, I'm not challenging you. I only thought." "That's the problem," Kunle shouted. "You think too much. From today, no shop, no sewing, nothing. Stay home." Aisha looked down at her hands. Just like that, her dreams were closed, like a shop with no key. At first, Aisha tried to remain calm. She prayed, she hoped. She kept telling herself, maybe he's right. Maybe I should focus on the home. But soon she discovered the truth. Kunle did not want a wife. He wanted a controlled servant. He refused to give her enough money. He insulted her if she asked for more. One day she whispered, "Kunle, the children need new shoes." He laughed loudly. "You talk as if you bring money to this house. What do you even do?" Aisha's chest tightened. She did so much. Cooking, washing, cleaning, caring for children, staying awake with sick babies, managing the home, but none of it mattered to him. To Kunle, she did nothing. Whenever she complained, Kunle replied the same way. "You depend on me. Without me, you are nothing. Remember you have no shop, no job, no money. Each insult felt like a chain. Each word tied her tighter to him. Aisha slowly became fearful of talking, fearful of asking, fearful of dreaming. Her mind felt locked. Her life felt trapped. She was living in a cage without bars, a cage built with insults, control, and fear. At night, when Kunle slept deeply, Aisha opened her old sewing box. It was full of colourful threads, shining pins, pieces of ankara, and the small measuring tape she loved. She touched the tape gently and whispered, "One day, maybe one day, I will sew again." A tear dropped onto the cloth. She closed the box slowly, afraid Kunle would wake. Aisha felt like a flame without air, burning quietly, silently, painfully, and deep inside, something was breaking, something that would soon push her toward a dangerous decision. Children are supposed to grow up in a warm home, a place of love, laughter, and safety. But Kunle's house was the opposite. It was a place where everyone walked slowly, talked quietly, and held their breath when Kunle entered a room. A place where joy had to hide. A place where fear lived like an invited guest. Aisha gave birth to 7 beautiful children. Each child came with hope. Each birth came with prayer. She thought Kunle would soften with fatherhood. She thought maybe he would smile more. She thought maybe the children would melt the hardness in him. But Kunle remained the same. Sometimes he even got worse. The children learned very early that their father's mood controlled the whole house. If Kunle was angry, no child dared to laugh. If Kunle was in the sitting room, no child dared to run. If Kunle was sleeping, no child dared to play. The home was filled with rules that came only from fear. Aisha tried her best to create happiness for her children. She told them stories. She cooked their favorite meals. She hugged them when they cried. But inside her own heart, she was breaking. Every day, Kunle found something new to complain about. One morning he shouted, "Aisha, why is the house like this? Are you blind?" Another evening he thundered, "Must I repeat myself every day? Are you that slow?" When the children spilled water, he insulted Aisha for raising useless children. When the baby cried, he blamed Aisha for not knowing how to control her own child. No matter what happened, everything was her fault. One night, after the children went to bed, Aisha was washing plates in the kitchen when Kunle's harsh voice filled the air from the sitting room. "Lazy woman! Slow woman! You're even lucky I married you." Aisha continued washing, pretending not to hear. One tear dropped into the soapy water, then another, and another. Her heart felt swollen with sadness. She whispered, "Why does he hate me so much? What did I do wrong?" She didn't know the children were listening from the hallway, their small faces full of sadness, confusion, and pain. Instead of enjoying childhood, the children learned to protect their mother. When Kunle started shouting, the older ones rushed to take the younger children away. When Aisha cried, Halima wiped her tears quietly. When Kunle insulted her, Jammu held his fists tightly, fighting the urge to talk back. They were too young to fight him, too small to change anything, and too scared to speak. But deep inside them, a fire was growing, a fire that would one day burn brighter than Kunle's cruelty. Aisha used to smile easily. Her smile could make the whole house warm. But slowly, very slowly, her smile began to disappear. The pain was too much. The insults were too heavy. The loneliness was too deep. Aisha felt like she was drowning in her own home. She loved her children deeply. They were the only sunshine she had, but even they could not stop the darkness she felt. She needed an escape. She needed peace. She needed life. And one night, when everyone was asleep, she made a decision that scared her more than anything she had ever done. A decision that would change everything. The air inside the house always felt heavy now, like someone had locked all the windows and swallowed the key. Aisha, once bright like morning sun, now moved around like a shadow of herself. But even shadows have eyes, and her 7 children kept watching their father's ways. They didn't fully understand the name for it, but they knew something was wrong, deeply wrong. One evening, Halimat, the first daughter, walked into the living room and found her mother sitting on the floor in tears. "Mama, what happened?" she whispered and knelt beside her. Aisha tried to hide her face. "It's nothing, my child, just tired." But Halima had seen the crumpled wrapper thrown on the sofa, and she knew that Papa had shouted at Mama again. Kunle was in the bedroom, talking loudly on the phone. "I said she will not start any business. I am the head of this house. She should sit at home and wait for the money I give her." Halima looked at her mother, confused and upset. "But Mama, why can't you work? You always tell us that hard work is good." Aisha smiled sadly. "Your father believes differently," she said softly. One by one, the children began to notice how Kunle took their mother's phone and searched it for no reason, how he insulted her cooking after eating 2 plates, how he gave her money like she was begging for alms, how he smiled outside the house but became a monster inside. They started whispering among themselves. "Papa doesn't treat Mama well. He wants to break her spirit. Why is he always angry? Mama does nothing wrong." The truth was finally shining in their eyes. One rainy afternoon, Amina gathered enough courage to do what she never dreamed of leave. She had been saving little by little, sometimes from the change when she bought foodstuffs, sometimes from money Halima quietly slipped into her palm. One day she told Halima the truth. "I am leaving this house." Halima's eyes widened. "All of us, Mama?" Aisha shook her head slowly. "No, your father will never let me go with you. He might even hurt you. I will leave alone first, and when I am safe, I will find a way to come back for you." The girl burst into tears. "Mama, don't leave us with him, please." Aisha hugged her tightly, rocking her gently. "My daughter, sometimes a mother must walk away just so she can survive long enough to return." Aisha woke up at 4 a.m. one morning, packed a small bag, and tiptoed to the door. Her heart was beating so fast it felt like a drum. Just as she touched the doorknob, a voice exploded behind her. "So you want to leave my house?" Her whole body froze. Kunle stood in the dark hallway, hands folded, eyes burning like fire. "Where do you think you're going? With whose permission?" he shouted. Aisha trembled. I can't continue like this." Kunle grabbed her bag and threw it across the room. "You will never leave me. Do you hear me? Never." His voice was loud enough to wake the children. They ran out, confused and crying. The younger ones held on to their mother's wrapper, terrified. Kunle pointed at them angrily. "You see your mother? She wants to abandon you. She doesn't love you. Only I do." The children looked at Aisha, eyes shaking with hurt. Amina cried bitterly, "That is not true. I love you more than my own life." Later that night, after Kunle had gone to sleep, all 7 children gathered around Aisha. Their oldest son, Jamiu, spoke first. "Mama, you cannot do this alone. We will get you out of this house. All of us, together." The others nodded. "We don't want to see you cry again. Mama, we will protect you. We are not small anymore." Aisha looked at them, her 7 gifts, her 7 blessings, and for the first time in years, she felt a spark of hope. Just a spark. But it was enough. Inside her chest, something whispered, Maybe I am not as alone as I thought." The morning, Kunle woke up and found the house quiet. He felt something unusual. Aisha had moved around the house silently all day, saying little. The children avoided him too. It made him uneasy. For the first time in a long time, he felt something slipping out of his control. 2 days later, Kunle suddenly appeared with a smile, an unusually wide one. "My wife," he said gently. "I want us to start again." "Divra now." Aisha looked at him with tired eyes. "Start again?" she asked quietly. "Yes," he nodded quickly. "I have been thinking. Marriage is not easy, you know. Maybe I was too hard on you. I'm ready to change." It sounded sweet, but it felt false, like sugar poured on a bitter leaf. Then he added the line that made Mama's heart squeeze. "I need you. And the children need you too." Aisha said nothing. The children watched silently from the doorway. Kunle stretched his arms as if waiting for a hug, but Amiat only bowed her head and walked away slowly. Inside her heart, she whispered, "I have heard these promises before." When Aisha didn't fall for his sweet words, Kunle moved to the next level manipulation. He called the children, one by one. "Halima, go and beg your mother. Tell her I have changed. Jamiu, tell your mother I will treat her better. My son, my daughter, talk to your mother for me." The children were confused. For a moment, they even hoped he meant it. One evening, the 7 of them gathered around Aisha. "Mama," Halima said softly, "Papa says he wants to be better." Jamiu added, "Maybe this time will be different." Mama looked at their innocent faces. She knew they wanted peace. She knew they wanted a whole home. And she was a mother. She could do anything for them. So she sighed deeply and said, "All right, I will give him one more chance." The children hugged her, relieved, not knowing that their father had only acted a perfect role. Kunle arranged it like a festival. He asked his friends to witness it, cooked food, and even bought Amina a new wrapper, something he hadn't done in years. People clapped when Aisha stepped back into the house properly. "Ah, our father is a changed man now." "Yes, he has apologized. You see, he truly loves his wife." Aisha forced a smile. Deep inside, fear sat quietly, like a sleeping dog. With time, the children began to gain admission to higher institutions one by one. Kunle proudly boasted everywhere, "I am sponsoring all my children. Do you see how responsible I am?" He spent money on them but complained loudly when nobody asked him to. "Your mother is just sitting at home doing nothing. You think feeding 7 children is easy? She should support me, but she is lazy." Aisha heard all these words. She swallowed them painfully. The children heard too, and anger grew like fire inside their hearts, but they kept quiet for the sake of peace. One evening, after the last son left for school, Kunle sat back in his chair and smiled. "Now it's only you and me," he said. That sentence felt like a warning. The moment the children were gone, Kunle's sweetness disappeared like smoke. He returned to his old ways with even more force. He insulted Amina for tiny mistakes. He mocked her in front of guests. He told neighbors she was a liability. He said she was uneducated, useless, good for nothing. Aisha swallowed each word like bitter medicine, telling herself, "Just a little more time. When my last child graduates, I will be free." But Kunle was not done. He began calling the children with lies. "Your mother doesn't greet me. Your mother is disrespectful. Your mother is ungrateful. I do everything and she does nothing." Some children believed him a little. Some didn't believe at all, but all of them felt the confusion. Why does Papa always paint Mama as the villain, they wondered. Aisha never defended herself. She simply said, "My children, just focus on school." But her silence was not weakness. Her silence was strategy. She was waiting, planning, quietly preparing, and she was not alone. Her children would soon rise again. Aisha had lived many years in that house, enduring, praying, hoping, breaking, healing, and breaking again. But the day her last child completed university, something inside her finally stood up. It was not anger. It was not bitterness. It was freedom waking up from a long sleep. One Sunday afternoon, Kunle invited some men from his extended family. He boasted, laughed, and bragged loudly as usual. But when Amina served them food, Kunle shouted, "Is this the nonsense you cooked? You can't even prepare soup correctly after all these years? Shame." He said it in front of strangers, in front of his brothers, in front of his guests, in front of the woman who had carried 7 children for him. Aisha stood still. Her hands shook. One of the visitors whispered, "Ah, this man has no respect." But Kunle didn't stop. "You are a disgrace. I regret marrying you." Something snapped inside Amina. She walked away silently. Kunle laughed, thinking he had won again, but he had just lost everything. That night, Amina called her eldest child. "Jamiu, it is time." Jamiu didn't ask questions. He simply replied, "We are coming." The next day, all 7 children arrived, some from school, some from work, some from long distances. They filled the compound like an army. Kunle came out, surprised. "What is happening here?" Chidi stepped forward respectfully, but firmly. "Papa, Mama is leaving this house today." Kunle laughed loudly. "You think you can take my wife? Are you mad? She is not going anywhere." Halima held Amina's hand. "Mama is not your prisoner." Each child picked one of Aisha's bags. Kunle screamed, "Drop those bags!" But the children did not tremble anymore. They had seen too much. They knew too much. "Papa," the third-born said calmly, "we have watched you hurt Mama all our lives. It ends today." Kunle turned red with anger. "You children are useless. She poisoned your minds." "No," Jamiu said. "You poisoned your own house. We are simply cleaning the wounds." Aisha cried quietly, not because she was sad, but because she finally felt protected. Her children formed a circle around her and walked her out of the house. Kunle shouted until his voice cracked, but nobody looked back. The children rented a small apartment for Mama, peaceful, clean, quiet. They bought her a small freezer, a sewing machine, a little shop space, new clothes, a phone, and everything she needed to start a new life. "Mama," they told her, "you have suffered enough. Now enjoy peace." Aisha wept tears of joy. Her life finally had air again. Instead of reflecting, Kunle grew even prouder. "Let her go. I don't need her," he shouted to neighbors. Within 2 months, he married a new wife, a young, beautiful lady about the age of his 3rd child. People whispered, "This man does not learn. It's so he thinks youth means loyalty. He believes beauty means peace." But Kunle didn't care. He was enjoying his new conquest. Until the storm came. One early morning, Kunle collapsed in the bathroom. By the time he reached the hospital, the doctor delivered the truth. Prostate enlargement, kidney failure. He needed care. He needed support. But his young wife? She packed her things 2 weeks later and vanished. "He is too much burden," she told neighbors before leaving. Kunle was left alone, weak, sick, broke, lonely. The same man who once controlled everything couldn't even walk to the toilet without help. Days later, the door to Kunle's house opened gently. The 7 children walked in, quiet, composed, grown. He was shocked. You still came back?" Jamiu nodded. "We will care for you, Papa." Kunle burst into tears. "I don't deserve it. Not after what I did to your mother. Not after what I did to all of you." Halima placed a hand on his shoulder. "Hurting you won't heal us. We are here because Mama raised us to forgive." Kunle cried harder. "I am sorry. I am so sorry," he said again and again. But the biggest repentance came when he asked, "Where is your mother? Please, I want to apologize, they told Mama. She visited once calm, peaceful, healed. Kunle burst into tears again. I destroyed the best gift God gave me, he sobbed. Aisha simply replied, May God forgive you. I already have. But I will not return to the prison you built. Her voice was gentle, but firm like a stone. Kunle nodded with shame. He finally understood. The house where Aisha once lived in fear became a quiet, lonely place. Kunle lay on the bed most days, staring at the ceiling and listening to the echoes of a life he had ruined with his own hands. The children took turns caring for him, bringing food, paying for drugs, washing his clothes. They treated him with kindness he had never shown their mother. Every time they came, Kunle asked the same question, Has your mother forgiven me? And they gave the same answer. Yes, Papa, she forgave you. But forgiveness is not the same as returning. Those words stung deeply, not because they were harsh, but because they were true. One quiet evening, Kunle asked for paper and pen. His hands trembled, but he wrote slowly, To my children, thank you for loving me more than I loved any of you. Thank you for caring for me when I did not care for your mother. Thank you for being better humans than I was. Then he paused, wiped a tear, and added, If a man destroys the peace in his home, he will live long enough to sit alone with the pieces. He folded the note, placed it beside his bed, and closed his eyes. He was finally learning, but learning too late. While Kunle battled sickness, Amina lived a new life. She woke up without fear. She worked in her small shop, selling fabric. She laughed freely again. She attended women's meetings. She prayed without tears. She slept without nightmares. Her children visited often, filling her small apartment with warmth that the old house never had. One day, her youngest daughter hugged her tightly and said, Mama, thank you for not giving up on us. Well done too. Aisha smiled with gentle pride. I stayed alive so I could see this day. When Kunle grew weaker, he asked to see Amina one last time. The children took her to him. He struggled to sit up. His eyes were filled with regret, not anger, not pride, not control, just regret. Mama Halima, he whispered, I am sorry. I wasted the love you gave me. I killed the peace in our home. I hurt you, and I hurt our children. Aisha looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded softly. I forgave you a long time ago, she said. But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. Kunle closed his eyes and cried, not loudly, but like a man facing the truth for the first time. You were a good wife, he whispered. I was the one who failed. Aisha wiped her eyes. And I pray that God gives you peace in your final days. With that, she turned and left the room calm, dignified, and finally free. After Aisha left, the children surrounded their father. We will stay with you, Jamiu told him. We are not abandoning you. Kunle shook his head. You are better than me, he said. Do not become the kind of man I was. They remained by his side, faithful, compassionate, forgiving. A few weeks later, Kunle's journey ended quietly. He left with tears on his cheeks and gratitude in his heart. At the burial, people whispered, His wife suffered, oh, but look at how she still came to stand beside the children. Her dignity is something else. Her children are her reward. Aisha did not speak much. She simply stood under the tree, hands folded, face peaceful. She had survived. She had healed. She had raised 7 strong, generous children, and she had kept her humanity intact. That was victory. Not loud victory, not bitter victory, but quiet, powerful victory. Aisha's journey shows us that patience, courage, and love can survive even the darkest storms. It shows that no matter how cruel life may seem, hope can rise and freedom can be claimed. Her children learned the power of standing together. Her motherly strength proved that even in silence, strategy and dignity can lead to victory. But the story does not end here, because every reader has their own battles, their own chains to break. Now it's your turn. Ask yourself, are you living in fear? Are you being controlled, manipulated, or silenced? Are you tolerating what you shouldn't? Take action today. Protect your peace. Stand for yourself. Lift others who cannot yet lift themselves. Don't wait until it's too late to reclaim your freedom. Let Aisha's courage inspire your next move. Your freedom, your dignity, and your life are worth fighting for. Finally, don't forget to like, comment, and share this story with all your loved ones who need to learn from Aisha's courage. For more educational stories like these, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.